Dear students, I will teach you few topics in control systems. Let me start with root locus. Root locus is defined as the locus of the roots of the characteristic equation as system gain k is varied from 0 to infinity. So just spell it down. Root locus is defined as the locus of the roots of the characteristic equation. C means characteristic equation as system gain k is varied from 0 to infinity. System gain k is varied from 0 to infinity. So root locus is defined as the locus of the roots of the characteristic equation as system gain k is varied from 0 to infinity. In order to understand this concept, let us consider a negative feedback system of first order as shown in this figure. G of s is equal to k divided by s plus 1. Output of the system is C of s. It's a unity feedback system. For the unity feedback system shown in the figure, the characteristic equation is, C means characteristic equation. Characteristic equation is 1 plus g of s h of s equal to 0. This is the characteristic equation. This implies 1 plus k divided by s plus 1, h of s is 1 equal to 0. This implies s plus 1 plus k equal to 0. Now I will make a small table. Here I will write system gain k. Here I will write roots of the characteristic equation. When k is 0, s is minus 1. When k is 1, what is the root? Minus 2. When k is 2, what is the root? When k is 2, root is minus 3. When k is infinity, what is the root? Minus infinity. What I have done is, for different values of k, starting from 0 to infinity, I have got the roots of the characteristic equation. Now these roots I will plot on the S-plane. S-plane is a complex plane having real axis sigma, imaginary axis j omega. This is S-plane. S-plane is a complex plane. When k is 0, what is the root? When k is 0, the root is minus 1. When k is 1, what is the root? When k is 1, what is the root? Root is, when k is 0, the root is minus 1. When k is 1, the root is minus 2. Finally, when k is infinity, what is the root? Minus infinity. For different values of k, I have plotted the roots. All these roots are joined by a smooth curve. The resulting curve is called root locus. The arrow will be always from k equal to 0 to k equal to infinity. So this is the root locus. So see here we are not plotting the values of k. We are plotting the roots for different values of k. K is the limit. When the limit k equal to 0, the root is minus 1. When k equals 1, the root is minus 2. Finally, when k equals infinity, the root is minus infinity. All these roots will connect by a smooth curve. The resulting curve is called root locus. When the root locus lies completely on the left side of the S-plane, system is absolutely stable. When root locus lies partly on left side, partly on right side, system is conditionally stable. That means system will be stable for few values of k. When the root locus lies completely on the right hand side of the S-plane, system is always unstable. In other words, for a system to be absolutely stable, that means stable for all values of k, the root locus has to lie completely on the left side of the S-plane. So this aspect I am going to write now. For a closed loop system means negative feedback system. For closed loop system to be stable, to be absolutely stable. Absolutely stable means system is stable for values of k from 0 to infinity. Absolutely stable. IFF means if and only if the root locus lies completely on the left hand side of the S-plane. On the left hand side of the S-plane. In the present example that I have shown here, system is absolutely stable. When the root locus lies partially on the LHS of the S-plane, partially on the LHS of the S-plane, then the system means closed loop system. Then the closed loop system is conditionally stable. That means system is stable only for certain values of k. In other words, for certain values of k, system will be unstable. When the root locus lies completely on the RHS of the S-plane, RHS of the S-plane, the closed loop system is unstable. Closed loop system is unstable. So I again repeat. When the root locus lies completely on left side, system is absolutely stable. Stable for all values of k. When root locus lies partially to left, system is conditionally stable. That means stable for certain values of k. When root locus lies completely on the right side of the S-plane, system is always unstable. These aspects are written over here. Next question is, can the root locus completely confine itself to the real axis? The answer is no. Because I have taken a first order system. For a first order system, the roots of the characteristic equation are always real. For higher order systems, means second order and above, roots of the characteristic equation can be real as well as complex. This means root locus can lie anywhere in the S-plane. Very important aspect. For a first order system, for a first order closed loop system, the roots of the characteristic equation are always real, implying root locus, RL is the abbreviation for root locus, implying root locus is confined confined only on the real axis. Confined only on the real axis. That is the case over here. For higher order systems, systems means closed loop systems. For higher systems, the roots of the characteristic equation can be both real and complex, implying root locus can lie anywhere on the S plane. Anywhere on the S plane. Two important aspects I have stressed here. For first order system, the roots of the characteristic equation are all real. Root locus is obtained by joining all these roots. Therefore, root locus is confined only on the real axis. For higher order systems, the roots of the characteristic equation can be both real and complex, implying root locus can lie anywhere in the S plane. Next question is, here we have drawn the root locus by finding the roots. Next, I am going to teach a method in which we can plot the root locus without knowing the location of the roots. That method I am going to explain now. It is possible to sketch the root locus without actually plotting the roots. This concept is as explained below. So here I am going to explain it how to get the same curve without actually getting the roots. So I will take a negative feedback system. Input is R of S. Forward path transfer function is G of S. Output is C of S. Feedback transfer function is H of S. This is figure number 3. For the negative feedback system, shown in figure 3, the characteristic equation is 1 plus G of S H of S equal to 0. This implies G of S H of S is equal to -1, which can be written as -1 plus J0. -1 plus J0 is in the rectangular form. In polar form, it will have magnitude equal to 1, angle equal to odd multiple of 180 degrees. -1 plus J0 is in rectangular form. In polar form, it will have magnitude equal to 1, angle odd multiple of 180. Odd multiple means 2q plus 1 into 180. Here q takes values 0, 1, 2 dash dash dash. This I call equation 2. Equation 2 means a root of the characteristic equation must satisfy the two conditions listed below. What are those two conditions? First one, magnitude condition. What is that magnitude condition? Magnitude condition is modulus of g of s, h of s is equal to 1. Second one, phase condition or angle condition. Phase condition or angle condition. According to this condition, angle of g of s, h of s must be 2q plus 1 into 180 degrees. Q takes values 0, 1, 2 dash dash. Both these conditions put together was given by a scientist whose name is W.R. Evans. W.R. Evans. This is Evans' method of sketching the root locus based on magnitude condition and phase condition. Now, for rapid plotting of the root locus, based on magnitude and angle condition, several guidelines have been given. These guidelines I am going to list now without giving their proofs. These guidelines I will use while doing the problems. I will be teaching you guidelines. These guidelines are derived from magnitude condition and phase condition that I listed earlier. I will not go into the proofs, but I will tell you the guidelines. Proofs are given in the curriculum. I will not get into that. First one, number of branches of the root locus. RL means root locus is equal to number of poles of g of s, h of s, or number of zeros, number of poles of g of s, h of s will denote by p, or number of zeros, zeros means finite zeros, of g of s, h of s, which will denote by z, number of poles of g of s, h of s, or number of zeros of g of s, h of s, comma, whichever is greater. Whichever is greater. So if there are 2 poles and 1 zero, there will be 2 branches of the root locus. Branches of the root locus are also called loci, root loci. Branches of the root locus are also called loci. Second one. A branch of the root locus always starts on a pole. Pole means k equal to 0 and ends on a 0. 0 means k equal to infinity. Third guideline. A point on the real axis. Please don't think about these guidelines. These guidelines will make it amply clear while doing the problems. A point on the real axis will lie on the root locus if and only if number of poles plus zeros equals an odd number to the right of the point considered. All these aspects I will explain while doing problems. Fourth guideline. A branch of the root locus that terminates on a 0 at infinity always does so in parallel to a straight line in parallel to a straight line called asymptote. In parallel to a straight line called asymptote. In mathematics, asymptote is defined as a straight line that meets the curve. It's a straight line. Asymptote is a tangent to the curve at infinity. That is how it is defined in mathematics. Asymptote is nothing but tangent to a curve that meets the curve at infinity. Or asymptote will give the guidance for a branch to terminate on a zero at infinity. The point of concurrence means meeting. The point of concurrence of asymptotes. Points of concurrence of asymptotes is called centroid. And has the symbol sigma A. Point of concurrence of asymptotes is called centroid. Sigma A is calculated with the formula sigma A is equal to summation finite poles minus summation finite zeros divided by P minus Z, where P equals number of finite poles. Poles means finite poles, zeros means finite zeros. Here P stands for poles, Z stands for zeros. Sigma A is centroid. Before, see, this is what is an asymptote? Asymptote is a straight line that gives guidance for a branch of the root locus to meet a zero which is at infinity. How many asymptotes are there? Number of asymptotes is equal to number of zeros at infinity. That means number of asymptotes equals P minus Z. That will make it as the last point. Next point is to define a straight line. We need one point and slope. That point is centroid. Slope is given by an angle. So I am going to write the angles made by the asymptotes. The angles made by the asymptotes with respect to real axis is given by the formula phi A equals 2 cube plus 1 into 180 degrees divided by P minus Z. Q takes the values 0, 1, 2, dash, dash, dash. Lastly, the number of asymptotes. How many asymptotes are there? Number of asymptotes equals P minus Z. So this point, in fact, it has come as the first point, no problem. Number of asymptotes equals P minus Z. The point of concurrence of asymptotes is called centroid. It is calculated in this formula. Sigma A is equal to summation finite poles minus summation finite zeros by P minus Z. The angles made by the asymptotes with respect to real axis is given by this formula. If there are two asymptotes, Q will take value 0 and 1. If there are three asymptotes, Q will take value 0, 1 and 2. Number of asymptotes is equal to P minus Z. These three attributes of the asymptotes you must remember. The point of intersection of two or more branches of a root locus is called breakaway point. Abbreviated as BAP. and is computed using the condition dk by ds equal to 0. dk by ds equal to 0. Next point. The angle at which a branch of the root locus, don't worry about these guidelines, all these guidelines will be put into use when we do problems. Now just try to remember these guidelines. The angle at which a branch of the root locus departs a complex pole is called angle of departure. Is calculated with the formula angle of departure is equal to 180 degrees minus sigma angle made by poles minus sigma angle made by zeros. 7 point. The angle at which a branch of the root locus arrives at a complex zero is called angle of arrival. Angle of arrival is computed using this expression. Angle of arrival is equal to 180 degrees minus sigma angle made by zeros minus sigma angle made by poles. Last guideline. The intersection points of the root locus on j omega axis are found as follows. First step, write the characteristic equation and then put s equal to j omega. Second step, equate real and imaginary parts of the characteristic equation after letting s equal to j omega to 0. Third step, solve for omega and k. All these guidelines I'll explain while doing problems. A negative feedback system has an open loop transfer function. OLTF means open loop transfer function. G of s, h of s is equal to k divided by s into s plus 1 into s plus 2. Sketch the root locus for k varying from 0 to infinity. sketch root locus for k varying from 0 to infinity. Very simple problem. With this problem, I'll explain you the concept. First step, plot poles and zeros. Plot poles and zeros of g of s, h of s on the s plane. Plot poles and zeros of g of s, h of s on the s plane. What are poles? Roots of the denominator polynomial. So, how do you get poles? S equal to 0. S plus 1 equal to 0 implies s is equal to minus 1. S plus 2 equal to 0 implies s is equal to minus 2. There are three zeros. There are three poles which are at s equal to 0, minus 1 and minus 2. How many zeros are there? There are no finite zeros. Number of poles must be equal to number of zeros. Therefore, there are three zeros at infinity. There are three zeros at infinity and they will be called infinite zeros. How do you say that there are three zeros at infinity? I will make a simple, is only a note, please don't write this in the examination. G of s, h of s, I write it as k into 0 into s plus 1 whole cube divided by s into s plus 1 into s plus 2. 0 into s is 0, 1 cube is 1. Therefore, this equation is same as this equation. How do you get zeros? By equating numerator polynomial to 0. That means 0 into s plus 1 equal to 0 implies three roots minus infinity, minus infinity, minus infinity. Or infinity, infinity, infinity. Or infinity, infinity, infinity. What I mean by that is, these three zeros are not finite zeros, they are at infinity. So in this problem, this aspect, you don't write it in the examination, it is for your understanding. What I want to say is, number of poles must be equal to number of zeros. In zeros, there are two categories, finite zeros and infinite zeros. In this case, there are no finite zeros because there is no numerator polynomial. There are only infinite zeros. How many infinite zeros? Three infinite zeros. I'll take one more example. G of s, h of s is equal to k into s plus 2 divided by s into s plus 1. How many poles are there now? Two poles. They are at s equal to 0, s equal to minus 1. There is one finite zero which is at s equal to minus 2. And one zero is at infinity. Therefore, one finite zero which is at s equal to minus 2. One zero at infinity which is called infinite zero. Number of poles must be equal to number of zeros. Zeros will be split into finite zeros and infinite zeros. Finite zeros are obtained from the roots of the numerator polynomial. Infinite zeros plus, I repeat, infinite zeros plus finite zeros will be total number of zeros. In this example, there are only infinite zeros. I am going to plot the poles and zeros. S plane is a complex plane. Real axis is sigma, imaginary axis is j omega. This is S plane. So for drawing the figure, I will take 1:2 scale. That means, see the poles I will plot. First pole is at 0. Second pole is at -1. -1 means 2 centimeters. -2 means 4 centimeters in your graph sheet. Because 1:2 scale. Same scale you have to take on j omega axis also. Along x-axis 1:2. Along imaginary axis also 1:2. When you use a graph sheet. So these are the poles. There are 3 poles. And where poles are there, you please write k equal to 0. Where zeros are there, we write k equal to infinity. So second step, k is equal to 0 points. K equal to 0 points are pole location 0, -1, -2. K equal to infinity points are locations of zeros. There are 3 zeros at infinity. Therefore, I write S equals infinity, infinity, infinity. Very, very important. Third point. Number of branches of the root locus is equal to P or Z, comma, whichever is greater. Please tell me what is P now? P is 3 because there are 3 poles. Here Z stands for finite zeros. Finite zeros are 0. Don't take zeros at infinity. Therefore, P is 3 in this problem, Z is 0. Therefore, there are 3 branches of the root locus. Fourth point, a branch of the root locus always starts on a pole. Pole means k equal to 0 and ends on a 0. 0 means k equal to infinity. Therefore, for a branch to be formed, there must be a pole and a 0. The branch will always start on a pole and end on a 0. Here there are 3 zeros which are at infinity. Therefore, these 2 poles have to go to infinity to meet these zeros. How they will go to infinity? For that, they require asymptotes. So, next step is finding the characteristics of the asymptotes. Number of asymptotes is equal to P minus Z. P is 3, Z is 0, so you get 3. How do you calculate centroid? Centroid sigma A is equal to summation finite poles minus summation finite zeros divided by P minus Z. Summation of finite poles means add all pole locations 0, minus 1, minus 2. There are no zeros, therefore the summation is 0 divided by 3 minus 0. So you get minus 1. What is the formula for phi A? Angle made by the asymptotes 2q plus 1 into 180 degrees divided by P minus Z. Q takes values 0, 1 and 2. Why Q should take 3 values? Because there are 3 asymptotes. Therefore, Q takes values 0, 1, 2. If there are 4 asymptotes, Q will take values 0, 1 and 1, 2 and 3. I'll make a small table. Here I'll write Q. Here I'll write phi. When Q is 0, what you get? 180 degrees divided by 3 minus 0 is equal to 60 degrees. When Q is 1, you get 3 into 180 degrees by 3 minus 0 equals 180 degrees. When Q is 3, here you get 5 into 180 degrees divided by 3 minus 0 is equal to 300 degrees. 300 degrees or minus 60 degrees. I'll draw
2, 3, 7, 7 and 180. Last. 2 up. 0, 1, 2.
0, 1, 0. 0. Asymptotes, where the asymptotes will start at sigma A equal to minus 1. This is the first asymptote which I am going to write as AS1. What angle that asymptote makes? It makes an angle of 60 degrees. This asymptote makes an angle of 60 degrees. Next asymptote also starts at minus 1, but what angle it makes? 180 degrees. Therefore, this axis itself is the asymptote, which starts at minus 1 and makes an angle of 180 degrees. Third asymptote makes an angle of minus 60 degrees. This is minus 60 degrees. Minus 60 degrees. This is the third asymptote. So, the point where all the 3 asymptotes meet is called centroid. The angles are taken from here. There are 3 asymptotes. All the 3 asymptotes start at minus 1 and make respective angles 60 degrees, 180 degrees and minus 60 degrees. Where this asymptote intersects, very important. How to find it? What is tan theta? Opposite side to adjacent side. So where it intersects? What is this adjacent side? 1. So it is 1 into tan 60. J times 1 into tan 60. Tan 60 means root 3. J root 3. Where this will intersect? At minus J root 3. So in your graph sheet, root 3 means 1.73. So it is 1.73 into 2 because the scale is 1:2. Since scale is 1:2, root 3 should be multiplied by 2 and must be plotted on the graph sheet, normal graph sheet. Normal graph sheet. So this is about the asymptotes. Before actually doing asymptote calculations, it is preferable to do this step. Or you can do this step even after finding the asymptotes, no problem. Take a point, see to the right of this point, see to the right of my hand. There are no poles to the right of my hand, no zeros. 0 plus 0, 0, even number, therefore root locus cannot lie here. So take a point here, see to the right of this pen. How many poles are there? 1. How many zeros? None. Both you add, so you get one odd number. So root locus will lie between these two poles. To take a point here, see to the right of the pen. How many poles are there? 2 poles. No zeros. 2 plus 0 is 2. Even number. Root locus cannot lie here. Take a point here and see to right. How many poles are there to the right of this pen? 3 poles. How many zeros? No zeros. Add. 3 plus 0 is 3. Odd number. Therefore, root locus lies from minus infinity to minus 2. This point you can tell before the determination of asymptotes if you desire. Point number 6. Point number 6. A point on the real axis, will lie on the root locus. If and only if number of poles plus zeros equals an odd number to the right of the point considered. This step you can do before the calculation of asymptotes if you desire. This aspect I will make it more clear. I will take one more example. Let us say we have a scenario like this. Now I will take a point over here. See to the right of this point. How many poles are there? No poles. How many zeros are there to the right of the pen? No zeros. Add both. 0 plus 0, 0. 0 even number. Therefore, root locus cannot lie at this point. You take a point here. See to the right of this point. How many poles are there? 1 pole. No zeros. 1 plus 0 is what? 1. 1 is an odd number. Therefore, root locus lies here. Take a point here. See to the right of this point. How many poles are there? 1. How many zeros? 1. 1 plus 1, 2. Even number. Root locus cannot lie there. Now see to the right of the pen. How many poles are there to the right of this pen? 2. How many zeros are there? 1. 2 plus 1, 3. Odd number. Root locus lies here. See to the right of the pen now. How many poles are there? 2. How many zeros are there? 2. 2 plus 2, 4. Even number. Root locus cannot lie here. Next, you take a point here. See to the right of my hand. How many poles are there? 3. How many zeros are there? 2. 3 plus 2, 5. Therefore, root locus lies to the left of this pole. This aspect is now, I hope, clearly understood. Next is real axis. Between two poles on the real axis, if there is root locus, breakaway point will surely come. So we can expect a breakaway point here. I again repeat, between two poles on the real axis, if there is a root locus, definitely breakaway point will come. The next step is to find breakaway points. BAP is the abbreviation for breakaway point. The system characteristic equation is 1 plus g of s h of s equal to 0. This implies 1 plus k divided by s into s plus 1 into s plus 2 equal to 0. This implies k is equal to minus s cube minus 3s square minus 2s. dk by ds equal to 0 implies minus 3s square minus 6s minus 2 equal to 0. This implies 3s square plus 6s plus 2 equal to 0. Using calculator, find the roots. Using calculator, find the roots. Roots are s is equal to minus 0.42, minus 0.42, and s is equal to minus 1.58. I will find the value of k at these roots. Hence, value of k at s is equal to minus 0.42. This is the relationship between k and s. In this relationship, put s is equal to minus 0.42. You get an answer 0.3849. Then again, in the same equation, put s is equal to minus 1.58 in this expression. You will get a value of k which is negative. You can find using calculator negative. At the breakaway point, the value of k should be real and positive. This is a real value and positive. Therefore, minus 0.42 is the breakaway point. At s equal to minus 1.58, value of k works out to be negative. Therefore, minus 1.58 fails to be a breakaway point. So, as we conjured earlier, breakaway point will come between 0 and minus 1. And in this case, we have found analytically the breakaway point is s is equal to minus 0.42. So I am going to write now the value of k at a breakaway point should be real and positive. Very important. Should be real and positive. Hence, s is equal to minus 0.42 is the breakaway point. Very clear. Very clear. Now, I am going to visualize how the root locus looks like. These two poles, between these two poles, we have got root locus. These two poles will move towards each other. You can ask me a question, why these two poles cannot move towards each other? Because between these two poles there is no root locus. These two poles meet at a point, that point is breakaway point, which is minus 0.42. They will meet at the breakaway point, then they will go parallel to these asymptotes. I draw the root locus and then explain it to you. Please watch. Let us assume that this pole goes this way towards k tending to infinity. What do you mean by k tending to infinity? Towards the 0 which is at infinity. Therefore, one branch could be, it could start at minus 1 and go along asymptote as1 to meet the 0 which is at infinity. Then this pole has to go along asymptote as3 to meet the 0 which is at infinity. K equal to infinity defines the 0, k equal to 0 defines the poles. How many branches? See, these two root locus must be symmetrical with respect to real axis. I am going to write that next point. Root locus must be symmetrical with respect to real axis. What I mean by that is, if you cut this figure along real axis, the top portion and the bottom portion must be exactly identical. So what it implies is, if this pole goes along asymptote as1 to infinity, this pole has to go along asymptote as3 towards infinity. These two poles can choose either of the asymptotes as1 or as3. This pole goes along as3, this pole will go along as1. This pole has no choice. It has to follow asymptote as2. That means by coalescing asymptote as2, it goes towards k tending to infinity. Just for your understanding, I'll write the 3 branches. This is branch 1. This could be branch 1. This is branch 2, branch 2. Branches 1 and 2 meet at this point. That point is called breakaway point. That point is called breakaway point. What is that point? S is equal to minus 0.42. What is the value of K at that breakaway point? It is 0.3849. This is branch number 3. Branch numbers 1, for example, instead of 2, this could be 1, then this will be branch 1. This instead of 1 can be 2, then that will be branch 2. Tentatively, these two branches can have flexibility to select either AS1 or AS3. But this pole has to select asymptote AS2 only. This is by keeping symmetry point in mind. Root locus must be symmetrical with respect to real axis. I again emphasize, these two poles cannot choose asymptote AS3. These two poles have to choose either AS1 or AS3. So how many branches are there? 3 branches. What is a branch? It has to start on a pole and on a 0. Therefore, see, this starts on pole and goes to meet the 0, which is at infinity, 1 branch. This is a pole which goes along AS1 to meet the 0 at infinity. This pole goes along asymptote AS3 to meet the 0 at infinity. K tending to infinity, see, please note that. What is the value of K here? 0. What is the value of K here? 0.3849. Here value of K should be more than 0.3849 because the value of K is increasing in the direction of the arrow. Very, very important. Next, I want to find these intersection points. To find intersection points. To find intersection points on j omega axis and range of K for stability. Some authors do this using Routh-Hurwitz criterion, but I feel this technique is simpler than Routh-Hurwitz criterion. Write the characteristic equation. The characteristic equation is SQ equal to 0. Put S equal to j omega. You may ask me a question, why we should put S equal to j omega? Please watch here. S plane is a complex plane, having real axis sigma, imaginary axis j omega. You take any point in the S plane, it is defined by sigma plus j omega. Right hand side of the S plane means sigma greater than 0. Left hand side of the S plane means sigma less than 0. J omega axis means what? Sigma equal to 0. When sigma is 0, what is S? J omega. Therefore, if you want to find these intersection points, you have to put S equal to j omega in the characteristic equation. Then what we get? Then we get j omega whole cube plus 3 into j omega whole square plus 2j omega plus k equal to 0. What is j square? What is j? J is root of minus 1. What is j square? Minus 1. What is j cube? J square into j means minus j. What is j to the power 4? J square into j square minus 1 into minus 1 equal to 1. So j cube means minus j. J square means minus 1 plus j times 2 omega plus k equal to 0. Write real part and imaginary parts together. K minus 3 omega square plus j into 2 omega minus omega cube equal to 0. 0 will write as 0 plus j0. We'll compare real and imaginary parts on both sides. Comparing real and imaginary parts on both sides. On both sides we get. On both sides we get. K minus 3 omega square equal to 0, equation 1, and 2 omega minus omega cube equal to 0. This implies omega into 2 minus omega square equal to 0, equation 2. See, here, omega cannot be 0. Omega is 0 at the origin. So I am going to write, since omega cannot be 0, it implies 2 minus omega square equal to 0. This implies omega is equal to plus minus root 2. That means this intersection point is j root 2. This intersection point is minus j root 2. It has to be symmetrical. You have to get always plus minus. What is k? What is k? K is from here. 3 omega square at omega is equal to plus minus root 2. 3 into 2 is equal to 6. The value of k here is 6. The value of k here is 6. Same result you can obtain by doing RS criterion, but this is a simpler approach. For k equal to 0, we are at the origin. At k equal to 6, the root is j root 2. For values of k from 0 to 6, root locus is on left side. For k greater than 6, root locus goes to right side. For finding the range of k for stability, you have to choose the values of k for which root locus lies on left side. So I am going to write here, for closed loop stability, CL means closed loop stability. For closed loop stability, k should be greater than 0, less than 6. For these values of k, root locus will be on left side. For k more than 6, root locus goes on right side. The system is stable for certain values of k, therefore the system is conditionally stable. The system is conditionally stable. Now when you draw the root locus on the graph sheet, as I told earlier, 1:2 scale has to be taken. That means when you plot it on graph sheet, the root 2 means 1.41. 1.41 should be multiplied by 2. That means this will be 2.8 divisions. This will be 2.8 divisions. 0.42 you multiply by 0.2. 0.2 means you get 0.42 into 2 is 0.84. So this will be approximately 0.8 divisions. Please note this. If you have any difficulty regarding this, correct me, I shall explain it to you when you come to college. But in the examination, no need to do it on graph sheet unless there are certain calculations to be done. This problem you can do on the ordinary sheet also. No need to be done on the graph sheet. What is important is the concept of root locus. Thank you.